Hey everyone, it's Aesah, and welcome to my video on Cypher Loss Streak. Cypher is a trait that has basically existed in the past in different forms, but in the TFT coaching Discord, we have some tables on it and how it works, so I just want to quickly go over how to play this trait correctly. If we look over here in the very bottom, it kind of gives you the mechanics of Cypher. But the very important thing is you gain 4 for each consecutive loss. So for example, if you're on an 8 loss streak, this would be if you lose round 3-3, if you got down 2-1 right before the second carousel, that's 32 Cypher with a 1x until. So if you look at stage 3 per loss, it's 17.5, so you're getting almost triple as much as if you had won the round before. You get 2 for each enemy killed. That's also not that much. On this round, most people are level 6, so you could get 12 by just winning the round. So again, if you win 3-2 and then lose 3-3, you'll get 17.5. If you 8 loss, you would get 50, basically. So it's much, much, much more. The consecutive loss is by far the most important thing. So just for an example, if you get Cypher in on stage 2-1, and you go 10 loss and cash out right before Wolves, you will probably, depending on if you get like how many units you kill, and depending on if you play like 4 or 5 Cypher up to that point, you will probably get a cash out somewhere around like maybe like 370-ish, which could be a extra unit slot and 10 gold. If you have the exact same thing, but you win round 3-1, so you 5 loss stage 2, win 3-1, and then 4 loss, thus breaking your streak, you would actually probably only cash out somewhere around maybe like 225, maybe somewhere around here. So it's much, much, much more powerful to full loss, and it's the most important thing to make sure no matter what. If there are other people playing Cypher in the lobby, you will want to whoops. You will want to position to lose against them, because what I'll see a lot of players do is, let's say you have 4 Cypher, they'll just do something like this, no item slammed, everything 1-starred, and basically the advantage of this is if you fight a player playing a real board, you might kill 1 unit and save 1 HP. This is really risky though, because if there's another weak player in your rotation, like someone else playing Cypher who is trying to lose, and you have a 1 out of 3 chance of losing your streak, that is not worth the small chance of maybe killing 1 unit against a real board. So again, if there's another Cypher player in your rotation, I would always try to lose. There's a little bit of rock, paper, scissors about how to position, but I think by default, this is good. I'm not really sure. There's a little bit of rock, paper, scissors because this traps the unit. However, most good players, for example, the reason I suggest this positioning is because if your opponent tries to trap a unit, it's not going to work. You can see that if they try to trap a unit here, their range units, the range to Vi is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nothing has 5 range. So if you position like this, their range units will always walk up and D-corner their unit. So same thing for you. If they position properly, this corner won't work. But some people don't know that, so I recommend just doing this as a default. If people don't position properly, if they do something, let's say they have the same 4 units, sometimes people will try to do something. I've seen like this pretty often, where they'll just put like their frontliners in the front and their backliners in the back like this. You will lose because your Galio will just be sitting here doing nothing while they kill your board. So yeah, as a default, I think you can use this. There's some really high level rock, paper, scissors, but it's not that important. Yeah, it's much better than just like trying to be really greedy and kill 1 unit. If there's no one in your rotation who is trying to lose, but there are people with weak boards, which is pretty common if people are just loss streaking and building Econ, especially if they have an augment such as Prismatic Hedge Fund, they're probably gonna have a weak board. But they might have like item slammed and up like at 2-star 1 costs. It is very valuable to be diligent with your scouting and try to kill as many units as possible. You can generally look at the amount of items slammed, combat augments, how many upgrades people have, and whether they have synergy. So Cypher and the cost of units. So Cypher units, if you're just playing this, you basically don't have a synergy. This trait doesn't activate until after you cash out. So if you see someone playing like 4 units with roughly equal costs, with an upgrade with an item, you're almost always going to lose to them with this. For example, if you see someone like Ogma, Kindred, Alistar Mundo, just like a board like this, and they have like 1 item and 1 upgrade, something, let's just say they have something like this, you can be pretty confident you're going to lose. One thing to note is because you have 2 3 costs, 3 costs are stronger than 1 cost. So if you're ever unsure, just err on the side of caution. Again, it's not worth saving 1 extra HP by killing 1 more unit and risk losing your streak. However, it is valuable to kill as many units as you can, so you kind of have to balance those two. You kind of have to balance those 2 things, basically. You want to be greedy with trying to kill units, but not too greedy. Yeah, prioritize keeping your loss streak. I would not upgrade these units generally on stage 2, just because if you make a Vi 2 and then someone else finds Cypher in their shop, you're not going to be able to outsack them. And same thing, if you want to play a stronger board, you just can. You always have to be ready for people changing their boards last minute. I see this pretty commonly in lower elos. In high elo, everyone knows that people are going to do this, but I see sometimes people will scout and they'll see their opponent on 2-6. They'll see their opponent has a board like this one that we're playing against. But if they're like 80 HP, it's pretty likely they're on 4 loss. So if they are on 4 loss, they might swap for something like this last minute, and then position these units in the front or something, and then if they do this, you might still lose if you do the trap positioning, which is why I recommended, because your Galio's not going to be fighting. But yeah, just look out for these swaps last second. People usually will not sack their board on stage 3, but you can definitely watch out for it. When to cash out? I think in general, Cypher is one of the strongest cash out traits that has existed. Other past variants are like Underground, Fortune, Mercenary, but Cypher has a guaranteed cash out. 3-7 right before Wolves, or 4-3 right before the stage 4 carousel. I think these are going to be the most common cash out rounds. If you have HP to spare, if you have like Titanic Titans or maybe full win streak stage 2 into Cypher, you can maybe do 4-7, but I think it's pretty rare. Generally, I would keep on going if you have 40 or more HP, and cash out if you have less than that. Because in stage 4, when you take a loss and you're playing Cypher, the base damage is 8 for the stage, plus 1 per unit. You're generally probably going to take like a 5-unit loss because you're playing Cypher, so you have a weak board. You don't have your cash out. You're playing, if you're playing like 4 Cypher, hopefully, at least by this point, you're playing 4 units that don't synergize with each other, are just like not that strong on their own. So you're generally going to take like 13 HP per loss. So let's say you get to Wolves, you have 40 HP. I would try to lose 2 more. You'll lose about 26 HP. You'll go down to about 14, but you'll get a much bigger cash out, and you're more likely to win out. If you want to err on the side of caution, you can definitely try to cash out with more lives. Another thing you can do is try to like win your last round, because basically 2 things could happen. Either you'll kill more units, and then that'll just be really, really good if that happens, if you can cash out with an extra life. Or you'll just win the round, you'll get a smaller cash out, but you'll have an extra life, and then it's kind of like it's not quite a win-win situation, but it's not too bad to have 2 lives instead of 1 is really, really valuable. Typically, after you cash out, I would consider around 15 HP to be 2 lives. If you have 15 HP, On stage 5, you only have to kill 3 units to not die, which after a big Cypher cash out, it's almost impossible to not kill only 3 units against even a really strong board. Unless you fight something like 10 anima, which if you see someone going for that in your lobby and they're like pretty likely to hit it, then you should just try cash out earlier and save more lives. But basically, I would say around 15 HP, people usually consider 2 lives. Less than that is 1 life, but 2 lives is a lot better than 1 life. The reason is, let's say you roll down and you hit your board. Let's just say, you hit like I'm not gonna put all the units on here, but let's say you hit 2-star Annie, 2-star Koboko, but the rest of your board is like not that strong. You have like like 1-star Nico, 1-star Mordekaiser. In this situation, if you have 2 lives, you have good items. You can check out my Strat Amp video I made yesterday for details on this comp, which is, by the way, I should have mentioned this earlier. Normally, you want to cash out into Strategist Amp just because you're going to have a lot of resources. You're going to have a lot of econ from saving gold and lost streaking. So you want to cash out into kind of like the strongest comp in the game relative to how much it costs. So normally it's going to be this. You can also cash out into like Zeri or Zed, but ideally it's this board here. So let's just say like the rest of your board is 1-starred. You have all of these units. And you have some good frontline items. So in this case, if I had 15 HP, and it was let's say this is my board on stage 4-3. I cash out on 4-3. I get this board, I have 15 HP. I would just save gold and try to go level 9 because I think this board is likely stable. It's likely going to win rounds. Just off the backs of these 2 strong units. The more upgrades you have, the safer you feel. Even like Echo 2 will make a difference. Frontline upgrades matter a lot more than backline upgrades. If I had all these guys 2-starred, I would definitely feel safe. But basically at this point, sorry. At this point, I would just save gold and try to go level 9 if I had 15 HP. However, if I only had 9 HP, which means a single loss would kill me. I don't want to die with 50 gold. I would just roll until I upgraded at least most of these, maybe something like this, before deciding to save HP, save gold. So basically, having 2 lives kind of gives you that cushion, which allows you to go level 9 and then cap out. Because if you take 1 loss, it's okay. You go level 9 on stage 5, and then you can make a much stronger board. Whereas otherwise, if you're 1 life, you're kind of forced to spend your gold inefficiently on level 8, and you might not ever make it to 9. You can still win the game off the back of your cash out at level 8, but you're kind of forced to roll on 8. Otherwise, you could not roll and take a really big risk that you take a single loss to a strong player, and then you die with 50 gold. That's another option. Once again, as I've been saying with Cypher, you just have to scout and kind of yeah, kind of decide whether that's a good idea. There's one other comp. I'm not gonna talk about it in that much detail in this video. I'll probably do the comp guide for this tomorrow. One Cypher cash out that you can actually just stay in the units. It actually works pretty well with exotech. You can just keep these as the 3 strongest Cypher units. You'll get 30 AD for your Zed. This comp basically revolves around Zed as one of your primary carries. Because Cypher will usually give you extra resources. Oftentimes it's extra items. Sejuani matches with Galio. She's the best Bastion. Really good unit. Zeri matches with Draven. This is already 2 exotech. Oftentimes, if you have a good item, you can play Jax. This is only 3 Bastion, which is okay, because eventually we're going to want to fit in Renekton. But Senna is pretty good here. She gives Slayer, she gives some AD to this is a full AD board. And then eventually we can add in Renekton. If not, we could just play another Bastion in the meantime. We could play some other units, but this is a level 8 board, perfect synergy as you can see. So I'll talk about this a bit more in a future video on this comp, but if you don't want to do a big pivot, you can just itemize for Zed and then itemize for Draven or Zeri. They use like similar-ish items and kind of build, just cash out into this board. It's also going to be really strong. That's going to wrap it up on this video on Cypher. I know we talked about a lot of things, so I'm going to kind of recap everything real quick. When you're playing Cypher, prioritize losing over everything. Doing a position like this to be greedy and try to kill one unit is oftentimes not worth it if you're not 100% sure you're going to lose. You can just position like this instead. You're less likely to kill one unit, but keeping your streak is way more valuable than saving 1 HP. You want to play as many ciphers as possible. Take ciphers off carousels if you can. Don't upgrade these units because if you fight another cipher player, you want to be able to lose to them. If you're confident that you're going to lose no matter what, then you can, at that point, you should start trying to be a little greedy and kill some units and save some HP. Try to cash out with, I would say, ideally 15 or more HP if you can. You can kind of estimate how much HP you'll have from the rounds. On stage 4, I would say expect to lose about 13 HP per round. This will be if you kill 3 units, you'll lose 13 HP on stage 4 against a level 8 player. So basically, if you have I would say if you have 40 HP on 3-7 and you're debating when to cash out, that's kind of the cutoff point. It's kind of just, you can decide whether to be a little greedier or safer. I mean, safe has its risks as well, right? Like if you cash out, you might lose and that later on because your cash out's not strong. But I would say if you have 45 HP, I would definitely go to 4-3. If you have 35 HP, I would probably cash out on 3-7. So 40 is kind of that perfect sweet spot where you really want to cash out with 2 lives. Having 2 lives allows you to greed 50 gold in the bank to try to go level 9, whereas if you're 1 life, oftentimes you're forced to roll down. And then normally on this current patch, you're going to want to cash out into the Strategist Amp board, which I have a video for. You want, because it's just the most gold efficient board in the game. And the most likely to, you already took a huge risk playing Cypher throughout the game, and that's the most likely to transition that into a first place. Right, that's going to wrap it up on this video, and thanks for watching. Let me know in the Discord if you have any questions or comments.